Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 29, Dark Portents.
Yes.
Interesting name for the episode. I don't know how accurate I think it is. Because to me, yes, the stuff about Ruidus and the Feywild at the end was worrisome.
Right.
But I don't know. The episode has had sort of a hopeful.
I think dark was in reference to the darker moon rather than ill tidings.
Okay, I mean, I buy that. But off the bat, the anticlimax of the confrontation of Dusk/you. Some interesting divisions happening in the team.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out what Dusk's play was. And I'm not sure. And like the cynic in me wants to say she didn't push the fight because she wants to come back.
Okay.
And had she pushed the fight, she'd probably be dead.
And I mean, pushing the fight, she would have been dead. That's her whole play. This isn't
the time.
Like, I thought more of them would be on my side. This isn't the time. I'm going to be screwed if this goes down.
Yeah, and I mean,
I need to let them think they have the out.
Well, and there was also a lot of setup stuff she was doing that didn't work.
Yeah.
Like if her aura of conquest had gone off, the channel divinity.
Yeah.
And more of them had been afraid, I think we might have seen her.
Yeah, definitely.
Do the next thing. So there was just a lot of things that were happening.
False steps, yeah.
Yeah. Matt gave her an item that would give her backup.
Yep.
Which, in true D&D fashion, the players now have.
Yep. Not just any players, Fern. Ashley Johnson has this.
Yes.
Yes. This isn't just a missing missile. This is a missing missile in the hands of a Kender.
Yeah. I think, and it's probably the best option for her, because while she was testing the waters and trying to press in different ways for the confrontation and to schism both the group and Fern and her mom, there were a lot of angles that you was trying to set up and play.
Yeah.
In that moment. But I also wonder if, because she, after her channel divinity failed, and Bell's Hells got Birdie talking about what the plan was.
Yeah.
Her attitude changed again. And I think basically she probably made an assessment, and we don't know what the exact relationship is between the person who was communicating with them and their political insight, and whether or not she is a believer in what they were doing with that object.
Yeah.
or if she is against what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because that can play into what she's... Because they sort of... You could be the one that saves the Feywild from the darkness of the moon.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know. Birdies seem pretty sketchy to me. Kind of dodgy.
I don't know. I think Birdie strikes me as a player character whose party discovered a plot, broke into the fortress of the bad guys, weren't able to kill the big bad guy, but were able to steal the key part of his thing and escape. And now they've been on the run. And now Fern is sort of that same player's second character.
Well, while
in a new campaign.
while I am not arguing any of those points, none of those work against my statement. Let me just ask you this. How many player characters have you known that were not sus or dodgy on some level?
Okay. I concede that they are not mutually exclusive positions.
In fact, they are more than likely mutually inclusive.
Yes. Fair. Yeah,
so, I don't know. For me, something just doesn't sit right. Not that she's necessarily... I'm forgetting the name of the Council of Wizards in Campaign 2. Trent and his group.
I wanted to say the 9, but that's not it.
Anyway, I'm not saying they're as bad as them, and I'm not saying they're as good as the Pan-Philosophical Arcana, but they're the anti-hero middle ground, the sketchy middle ground. These
they're the Mighty Nine.
Verdant. They are the Mighty Nine of organizations in Exandria, yes. Whereas the Pan Arcana was the Vox Machina.
Yeah. I don't think she's going to have a villain turn, Rose. Matt has never done that. He came close to it with Pike's family.
How?
But
he's never done that. And actually, I would argue that closer with Cassandra DeRollo.
Yeah, but
and that I can see because let's face it, if we're going to get into that, Ira is not someone you should be working with. And my theory is that he's screwing them all over.
I don't think that he is.
I mean, and now this also argues for me saying that, Birdie is kind of sketchy too, but if you're exiled from both the Seelie and Unseelie courts, you're probably not very trustworthy.
Or you are, because
he's got the whole mad scientist vibe. This isn't the type of person.
The Fae are not
he doesn't
morally led the way humans are.
He does not strike me as someone who's a quick villain turnaround somewhat ally character arc.
I don't think he's an ally. Well, okay. Look what they did with Essek Campaign 2.
I think not
arguably,
Essek.
Yes, he is. You don't think Essek, in his role as torturer-in-chief, who killed women and children to get at Veth's husband,
I think
isn't capable of all the same kind of shit?
I think he's playing them.
who started a war between two countries that got all those people killed.
I can't argue those points, but I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see him having that turn. You know.
I don't necessarily either, but I also don't see Fern's mother doing a villain turn either.
He's more of a Ripley to me than an Essek.
Mm. Yeah.
Yes, Essek was more selfish than malicious. Although the torturer part could be argued for the malicious. Yeah, I see him more as Ripley, like.
Fair.
Yeah, I just don't. And
I think they're probably going to use him to get Treshy. Now that Orym has wasted another magic item. Which made me laugh.
When are they going to go back for Treshy?
As soon as they're done at the... So...
Treshy is quickly becoming a footnote / afterthought.
Yes.
And by the time they come back for him, he may not be there any longer.
No, I think he's going to be there. If he was going to leave, he would have left already. I don't know if news of the race would have gotten back to him. I mean, every moment they're out of the city increases the chance of him skedaddling.
News of the race got back to him.
Yeah, but I mean, by description of the people who won the race, is he going to be able to connect that to the doled up people he saw at the party? Because Treshy never saw Ashton demasked. Or at least never interacted with him in any way.
He did see FCG, though.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure the description of FCG being glued to the front of a...
Probably doesn't worry him at all, because that means someone else probably has him. Or, because he's an automaton, could very easily be written off as just another copy.
Maybe. I think he's going to...
And probably not an as advanced one, because they're using it as the front tire of a car. I think there's enough gray that Treshy doesn't have the information to know that he's made and to get out of town. Plus, he may still be indebted to Paragon's call, and they're not going to let him leave.
Fair points, but I don't know. I just...
I think Matt is using Treshy was the bait to get Imogen with the leader of the Paragon's call. Blanking on her name, but Odahan, yeah. I think that's what that was all about. Matt's done a much better job this campaign of just weaving everything together into a braid.
Yeah.
And everyone's got their own and there's usually 2 or 3 people that have a reason to go to do a thing.
Yeah.
So where you might have hesitancy from one person, there's usually 1 or 2 other people like, no, we got to do this. I'm looking forward to Orym dealing with the fact that the Nightmare King, in some tangential way, is working with the organization that's fighting the very things that he's after. I look forward to that moment. Liam eats that kind of stuff up.
So I have a theory.
Okay.
So the Grey Assassins are going around killing people of this group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rose. I made that comment in somebody's art, and they were like, "This is my favorite campaign," and I'm like, "Is it because everything is more intertwined?" And I was like, "It's not going to be side questy."
Yep. But at the same time, to me, if Trushy just goes to next city A and then stays there until they decide to do something with him, that's all very video gamey to me.
Yeah, but I don't think
It's very side quest video gaming to me.
the thing is not enough time has passed for, like, he got there. If he sent out people to go rob his house, his former holdings, to regather his wealth, they're going to take that amount of time to get there and the same amount of time to get back.
True.
And he's not going to go anywhere until that's done. So that's why, like, to me, it doesn't feel like he's waiting for the plot, for the characters to.
True, but I don't think he. Like, I don't think he waited till he got there to send them to go back. If he's got this connection with them, he's going to say, hey, I need someone to. So it's on its way quicker.
I don't think so. Because we didn't see evidence of anyone in the Paragon's call in Drusar who had spellcasting ability that could cast Sending, which is the only way that in D&D land you can communicate ahead.
But at the same time, we haven't seen that every single person from Paragon's call that we saw there came back.
True. Fair.
And if it's an inside job, here's the key, here's the codes, whatever, bypass.
Get enough people to carry it all and come after us. So he's gathered his team. Yeah, that's true.
If I had been someone in his position, that's what I would have done. Not saying that Treshy is a planner, but he is an opportunist.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got the opportunity to, hey, you two stay back, gather some people, some movers, and do this. So I don't have to wait as long, because the longer I wait, the longer someone's going to track, the easier it is for someone to track me down.
Fair. But there's this detour out to the telescope is only a few hours.
Travel.
Yeah.
Plus whatever encounter.
I don't think there'll be an encounter.
Side trick.
If the crystal is the last piece that they need, and I don't think it, I think they're going to need more. But possibly not.
Hence, sidetrack.
Because it all depends on how Matt wants to dole the information out. Because we're 30 episodes in. We'll be 30 episodes in next episode.
Right. And we're getting huge lore dumps at a time.
Yeah. So it's very possible next episode that disc goes in, they power it up the thing, they get the answer they're after. Matt has stated we have 45 days, something like that, like a month and a half, before the next apogee solstice, which I'm like, called it.
Yeah, well, we had called that way back early that was going to play.
Yeah,
because I remember in the first few episodes of learning about Imogen, I had mentioned the eclipse that Plane Rider Ren mentioned later in this episode, talked about in his diary in campaign 2. And that solstice, that,
conjunction,
celestial event was going to happen. So, I mean, we had called that back
Yeah.
then, you know.
But I mean, after EXU.
Yeah.
Aired, and I was like, we're in the ballpark of another Apogee Solstice, and we got basically to the day, almost. It's going to happen in Vestron.
But before we got, speaking of sidetracks, before we got sidetracked back to Ira.
Yeah, sorry, I think this episode is just going to be all over the place, guys.
Yeah, it is. So, what do we know about the Verdant? Not the greatest has this group, okay? It's made up of people whose loved ones are Ruidus born, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. We've got Fern's parents, who we now know Fern is Ruidus born. We're not 100%, we're like 99% that Imogen is Ruidus born, but we know her mom is.
Yeah.
Which also brings up, is that going to be like Ruidus born of Ruidus born, seventh son of the seventh son?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And the Grey Assassins are going after the people who are in this Verdant.
Who are trying to figure out what's going on with Ruidus.
Yes. Now, great. And what else do we know about the people who are part of this Verdant? They don't tell their Ruidus-born loved one what they're doing. Now, fast forward, Orem asks about Keyleth at FCG's prompting. Don't know anyone that's the leader of a Ashari nation, you know. No one fits that description. No powerful wind witch, as FCG labeled her.
Yeah.
However, they attacked, and they successfully killed someone whose pet name for his lover was a Ruidus nickname. Was Will part of that, and is Orem Ruidus born?
Yeah, well, we've talked about the possibility that Will was the target.
Yeah.
Before.
But
I hadn't thought about Orem being Ruidus born. I was thinking that Will might have been or his dad.
Yeah. But he gave Orem the Ruidus themed pet name.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was more evidence that Will was the target.
Yes, Will was the target. I believe that this logic, this logic loop says that he was probably part of their group.
Yeah.
Sending them information that he had from Tal'Dorei to them.
Yeah. Well, and potentially even more than Tal'Dorei, because Keyleth set up those communication stones all over the place.
Yep.
Vasselheim, and everywhere that they went.
What better a position than guard to get that information?
Because as Orem keeps pointing out, I was just in the room a lot.
I was in the room. Saw them all up close. Heard them. I was just in the room. Will was just in the room. It's just a guard. Don't worry about it. Let's spill our beans. All right, let me go give that information.
Everyone always ignores the help thing. Snoopy, I don't think they're all Ruidus born. I think that would be too much.
Yes.
Really, you only need 2, possibly 3.
Which we have.
Yeah.
We have 2, possibly 3. Well, we have one.
One
probably
for sure.
1.
Probably 2.
And possibly 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We learn that with Fern being Ruidus born, when she was taken back to the Feywild, Ruidus appeared.
Yep.
And when Ruidus appeared, there were many it was implied many fiendish worshippings beginning.
Very much evil airplane cult vibes.
Yes. Which is interesting, as is the dream that we are
Yeah, Snoopy. They all have some connection, which we've covered multiple times.
They all have the dream that he had, Ollie, of Ruidus burning the Feywild, to me, sparked our discussion about the Divine Gate.
Yeah.
Coming down. And
see, not even that was another thing I thought, not to sidetrack again and backtrack. But with a name like Nightmare King, it heavily implies you have some ability to manipulate or enter dreams. What if he put that thought into Ollie, put that dream into Ollie? Is, hey, here's more people I can use to get this thing done.
I don't know. If he did, that means he's working against the court.
Birdie said he's an exile like they are.
Yeah.
I think possibly he could be a warlock, paladin, something of the Forgotten Gods.
I get that he's more of an artificer. Yeah. Snoopy and Rose both pointing out he had the dream and then they started looking for help.
Yeah.
So they didn't hook up with Ira until after.
Exactly.
Oh, so you think it was a manipulation from him?
Yes. From the beginning.
Maybe. The other funny moment in the episode was Ashton rage calming.
Yes, that best line of the episode. I'm gonna rage. I tackle Birdie. Okay, now everybody calm the fuck down. You just entered a rage.
So good. So I didn't think about it until my rewatch. But in retrospect, it's kind of funny in a meta way. You turning into Imogen. And why would you hurt me? To Laudna. And Laudna be like, I don't like that.
No.
And Laura being on the other side of the table is just like, and nothing from Roy Mustang sitting right next to her. There was a bigger reaction from Lust than from Roy Mustang, who, of course, is chasing the shape changer who killed his friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I didn't notice it on my first watch, but it just, in retrospect, is funny to me. But you, I guess, hasn't killed anyone yet, so.
Yeah.
But like, would Chetney go after you the way Roy did Envy if she killed Fern? Like, the guy swears a vendetta against the shopkeep who overcharges him a few coppers. What's the level of vendetta he swears when someone forever cockblocks him?
Yeah. Speaking of cock blocking, how bad did Travis cock block himself in that game? I just slap Imogen. Yeah, they had a talk on the way home.
Oh man, I wish I could remember the channel now. One of the channels that does edited clips of the episodes did a clip when Imogen and Laudna are each sort of chatting with everybody
Mm-hmm.
and not talking to each other. And Laudna is talking about how, like, she gets asked, "Have you guys ever had a fight?" She's like, "Well, we've had our spats about, which way to place the cups in the
Right.
upside down, right side up, da da da." And the person changed the focus of the frame to Travis and Matt. And the text on the screen is, "These guys have heard this conversation before," because they're both like, Travis is straight up like, "Oh no," and Matt's like,
Yep.
So I'm saying you're not wrong about Travis getting a talking to on the way home. I loved Imogen's line to you about, "You're lucky we're not more decisive, or you'd be dead."
Yeah.
Uh,
And she was one of the two that were conflicted, weren't kind of
Yeah.
leaning you, but not sure which way to go, her and Laudna.
well, I think in the beginning of the conflict, she was willing to kill her. But then she read Birdie's mind
Yeah.
and saw the Nightmare King. Because that's going to be a good isolated clip.
Yeah.
In the next rolls of...
Yeah. Oh my!
Yeah,
still
where
have your action. No, that was my action. That's all I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you had Imogen and Laudna kind of... I mean, Laudna even said, "I'm conflicted." You know? You had Chetney, FCG, and Ashton all pro you. They were all, we're on her side.
Yeah.
And you had Orem and Fern on Birdie's side.
Yeah. One thing that Liam missed, and I'm kind of surprised, he didn't roll crit damage.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't double his dice when he was rolling the crit. So I was like, oh.
It happens.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Yes.
And I think Liam tends to be more interested in resolving the effect of his maneuver.
Yeah.
Rather than rolling the damage for it.
Yeah. He's more interested in the imagery than the mechanical result.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's see. Oh, we get a negotiated settlement.
Yes.
You're going to give Birdie, Ollie, and Fern time to complete whatever there is they need to do. They've asked for 30 days, and Snoopy pointed out that it was a month.
Yeah.
30 days, and then they'll return the crown to you, and
30 days or less.
Yeah. Return the crown, go back to the Feywild with you. You get to have your cake and eat it too.
But leave Fern out of it.
Leave Fern out of it, and GTFO.
Yep.
I loved her being like, how did she put it? "I'll see you again, though you may not know it's me."
I'll always find you. You may not know it's me.
That's how it was, yeah.
Yeah.
So good. Do you think they can discern the true nature of Ruidus?
Not entirely. I don't think Matt wants to spoil the whole thing. I think he wants there to be some mystery. Maybe everything that there is written down, but I feel like that's something that Matt would leave part of vague so that other stories could be developed.
And see, I think we are going to learn what it is, or what it could be, what could be done, but not how exactly.
Okay.
And
Well,
then it's
no.
going to be, let's discover how to stop it.
We know what it is. It's a prison for forgotten gods.
So you agree with Rose then? That it's tied to the two missing gods?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think one of them is who the Raven Queen deposed. And I think we're going to find out another one of the gods in the Pantheon. My bet is Ray, the transport from Pathfinder, also supplanted a god.
I was thinking one of the referred to pre-Pantheon deities was the Luxon. And the other one being who the Raven Queen deposed. But that doesn't line up with the timing of the appearance of Ruidus.
True.
So, I don't know. And it could be the two deities spoken of in those papers were Raishan or Kamort and the two primordials that they disapparated at the calamity. That Asmodeus was trying to release.
But that would be the first time we've ever had primordial and deity interchangeable in the lore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it could also, like, how does something like that survive in Vasselheim? Well, if they change it to a deity instead of primordial, that might be one of the ways that knowledge survived. Or it could be a mistranslation, or any number of things.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying, to me, that makes it less likely.
Yeah. I just think that when Matt was prepping for Campaign 3, and they were prepping for EXU, I think a lot of the conversations that Matt and Brennan have filtered their way into Campaign 3. And I think Asmodeus, the way that Brennan presented Asmodeus is going to play into what happens with Ruidus. I think.
Okay.
And also presenting the prime deities, the Dawnfather in particular, as evil.
Yeah.
Is also going to play.
Well, very much in the way that, like, Brennan portrayed.
Yeah.
You know, we stood by our oath. Who betrayed who?
Yeah. Yeah. And the idea, and Brennan sort of played with the idea that history is written by the victors there.
Yeah.
And now these documents are uncovered in Vasselheim that potentially disprove some of.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the Gospel of St. Timothy.
Yeah.
That the Catholic Church has suppressed.
Yeah.
It's that sort of idea, I think, is what they're playing with.
Yeah. I can see that.
Brings me to a question that when I was doing my notes for tonight's episode, came to me. Ioun's wound.
Mm-hmm.
Why she is so weakened. I don't remember us ever getting a detailed explanation of that. Only that it happened during the calamity.
Correct.
Before the Divine Gate was raised or built. What if it was one of the other prime deities?
Hmm.
Because Ioun is about the dissemination of knowledge, not the hoarding of it.
Yeah.
And if Vasselheim, the seat of the prime deity's power, is hiding knowledge to the point where they are assassinating people who go after it and find it,
Yeah.
that opens up the possibility that it was a prime deity who wounded her.
It's turning out to be a
And
very down Dan Brown style campaign.
What if it was Saren Ray who did it?
Hmm. Yeah. Blame the new kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that would fit in Ray's portfolio.
Mm-hmm. And her second chance that she gives her followers is because she wants a second chance.
Yeah, it goes with the second chance, but like the solar, the searing,
Yeah. So I'm interested to see if that goes anywhere, if that comes up again. Do you think we have passed the point of them all whispering stuff when Laudna casts a message? Or do you think it only continues to get more ridiculous? Because we sort of hit peak when she said okay, and everyone at the table was like,
yeah. I'm just gonna say this campaign seems to function on Roger Rabbit rules. But between Fern's pockets and Laudna's magically regrowing hair so people can keep pulling it out, and it's gonna keep happening as long as it's funny to them. It's Roger Rabbit rules this season.
fair enough. We meet a new ally, or at least a new source of information. Hondir.
I like Hondir.
The prepper goblin / conspiracy theorist.
Who is the least questionable member of this part of this group that we've met. I'm just going to say that. And you cannot prove me wrong.
Is it just because he's trying to dress nice?
No.
Because he was upfront about blowing them all up and going with them?
I mean, he's been honest. He's been open. He's shared information. Does not seem to be, like Ira, we know he's bad.
Yeah.
Whether or not whatever happens, he's not a good person.
No.
I don't care what morality you use, Fae or humanoid or whatever, he's not good.
Yeah.
You have Birdie, who I still think is sketchy as fuck, and very much like when Fern was like, you can trust, all of us, is this real? Can he? Like Birdie does the same type of thing. I've never lied. Well, this information doesn't. Okay, so we can figure things out later. Let me get a story straight. Is the vibe that I got from let's deflect that and say we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Time to come up with shit that'll explain. Whereas he's just like, here's the information. This is what I know.
Do you think Ira is accepted by them, or that they accept that they need his help?
Hondir?
No, or the Bell's Hells.
No, I don't think they're sold on Ira. I think it's going to be a very cold, begrudging, closer to combat than the confrontation with you was type of scenario.
I don't know. think less combat. And I think they do. I think they do accept him. Just because he has the expertise. If Bell's Hells had a Caleb, they would kill him. And their Caleb would take over where he left off.
Yeah.
But they don't have a Caleb.
Yeah. They had a Caleb or a Percy.
I suppose Percy had the stats for it. And I think he was trained in Arcana, wasn't he?
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe.
I mean, he would have taken a different perspective on the approach and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, speaking of Percy, I think that's residuum. The lens.
Yeah.
It's a lens made of residuum.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's the green glass, just like they had in campaign. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. There's no question, no. That's not even a hypothesis, that's just fact.
Snoopy made a funny joke. If it was made of wood, Chetney would do it.
Or if he got drunk, we've already seen that he's willing to work on metal when drunk.
It's so good.
But even then, Chetney's only at a 15 on intelligence, so he's not.
Yeah.
He's not those stats.
Yeah. So we are also told by Hondir that there are 3 potential locations that will be sort of a potential focal point for the apogee solstice, for whatever the ley lines are doing.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is in Bosphorus. One of them is in the something sands.
Yeah,
I think. And the other one is in the ocean, off the northern coast. 3 sites. Last campaign, we had the 3 children of 3 betrayer gods that were imprisoned.
One was a phoenix, one was a worm, and one was a leviathan.
Uk'otoa definitely has 2 of his locks off. 2 of his 3.
Thanks, Ford.
We saw evidence of crawling monstrous things in the desert on the way to Bosphorus.
Yeah. Fair connection. Hong Kong by Ford. Travis is showing up, Sam, for the long game. He's going multi-campaign plotting. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, we joked at the beginning of campaign 2, when I was fixated on the Tarrasque, that maybe Ruidus is gonna crack and release.
Yeah.
The Tarrasque. Something similar might happen. Or that this apogee solstice will break all those chains of all of the
children.
Yeah, so that they can bring down the divine gate. And the thing is, like, I keep coming back to that there's probably a deity that wants the divine gate down too.
Yeah.
And that could also be the faction in Vasselheim that's keeping all of this secret.
And our Grey Assassins.
Yeah. Do you think they're Slod? Or a reskinning of a Slod?
I thought about that. I'm not sure. But that definitely came to mind.
Yeah. Planeswalker Rin. We don't know much about the individual, only a name.
We know he's a tiefling.
Do you think we'll see that character in a Magic the Gathering set?
I don't know.
Or do we see a connection to Spelljammer, maybe?
I think Spelljammer is more likely.
Okay.
It's one thing for Magic the Gathering to do D&D settings that are owned by WotC because they're the same company.
It's another thing to import somebody else's IP.
It's another thing to import somebody else's IP into a card.
Fair.
But I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. But if we do it, like, it'll be like a sub-theme in a D&D set of Magic, you know? It won't be like Exandria's its own, like, whole
addition
expansion.
to Planeswalker,
Yeah.
The other big lore drop that we got was Liliana, last seen 12 years ago.
Yeah. And she was part of the group. Yeah.
See, I keep... If they were ASMR, I think you probably make a better... Or Tieflings. A better argument for the possibility that Imogen's mother and her are both connected in a divine heritage way to whatever's happening in Ruidus.
Yeah.
But I don't need... Like I say, there's a stronger argument if they're ASMR or Tiefling for that. I don't know. Matt is fond of parallels and foreshadowing through those parallels.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's got to be something with Imogen and her mom and Otahan. Whatever conflict exists between them has to be, I think, in some way parallel mirroring whatever happened to cause Ruidus to appear. Fox asked about our theories about who the two missing gods are. I think the reason why Imogen is the narrative reason for Imogen to be looking for her mom is that there's something in or around Exandria that's looking for those missing deities.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Luxon is one of them, the Kryn have been finding the beacons and have been sort of obsessive about that. And what we got in EXU is that the people of Exandria were here already when the deities showed up.
Yeah.
And it was the interaction with the people of Exandria that caused the schism between them, that caused the first war and the siding with the Titans, the primordials of the betrayer gods siding with them. And then, but is the Ruidus, because we've heard that Ruidus was put there by the betrayer gods.
Right.
But what if it wasn't? Or
what if that's a play on Brennan's point, who betrayed who?
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, so you had the Luxon, and not that we agreed on one, which was whoever the Raven Queen disposed.
Yeah, although I don't think the timing works for that.
No.
Because I think Ruidus was already there.
But it doesn't mean that Ruidus wasn't there for the first one. And then the Raven Queen found out and used that thing and put...
To banish the other.
The other one was a later issue.
Yes. And it could also be that that was the flaw in Vespin Chloris' plan.
Yeah.
Was he didn't know about that.
That's correct.
And didn't banish Asmodeus or whomever.
That he was trying to replace to Ruidus. And then mine, which is not mutually exclusive from yours, being the Luxon, is that mine is a god who, one of the gods we know of, like that the Raven Queen isn't the first one that supplanted. And my guess was that Ray, the newcomer, the port from Pathfinder, suppressed possibly the Luxon, possibly someone else, put them into Ruidus. That's how Ruidus came to be. And later on, the Raven Queen in her mortal form discovered this, figured out how to do it, disposed of who she disposed of into Ruidus, which brought the population of Ruidus to 2 unknown gods.
And the storms could be the souls of all their followers.
Yep.
And as they've been slowly getting more, and more Ruidus born have been getting born.
They have the connection to those.
Yeah. And it's possible that the apogee solstice is important because that's when Ruidus was made. Was at an apogee solstice.
Yeah. That could be, you know, when the thrush knocks 3 times in the light of the setting sun.
Yeah.
The light of the conjunction shows the keyhole to open it up.
Yeah. I love the touching moment of the Callaways picking each other's pockets.
You call that touching?
Yeah. I thought so.
It felt artificial to me.
Hmm.
So touching does not. Like, Sam made a joke and they were like, well, actually, yeah, I did do that. Okay, roll.
Oh. Okay, fair.
And so it just seemed very artificial and kind of took me out of the disbelief. And
yeah. I mean, but there's a lot of times at the table where they go, well, yeah, could I have done that?
Yeah.
And that's just D&D and people.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Characters,
and I get that, but it just didn't feel like
as organic.
It didn't feel like it was going to happen until someone made a joke.
That's fair. Rose brings up an interesting thing about Morn, her grandma,
Maury,
keeping her for 100 years.
Yeah. Because Birdie says she can manipulate time like that.
And that we know that she can fixate on something. Plays to the evilness of Fae. And that's why I say that the Nightmare King, he's a bad dude, but, you know, all Fae are kind of, eh.
Yeah.
And the last part was, how can we turn a motorcycle into a van?
See, I was just picturing a sidecar on either side of the motorcycle. Yeah. Double sidecars.
Yeah. Well, she's definitely an archfey.
Yeah.
And it seems like she's an archfey independent of the 2 courts.
Yes.
So she's sort of... She seems like she's sort of in a place, in the same kind of place as the Traveler.
Yeah. Very much.
Because I don't think we were ever told that Artagan was part of the Celia Oren sealing. So, yeah. It's definitely interesting. Granny is not the Traveler.
No.
Fox. She is a new entity. Although it wouldn't necessarily shock me that she has some connection to the theater.
Oh yeah.
Or that the Nightmare King does. And the Nightmare King might be
it's actually an operating theater.
Yeah. I look forward to the next episode. I think
Yeah.
we're gonna get. I think they finish at the telescope before break.
Okay.
And we get back to Bosphorus post break, where we begin the process of getting into the Paragon's Call and Imogen dodging Otahan. Successfully or unsuccessfully, if indeed Otahan has seen her. Because we don't know that Otahan has had these dreams.
Right.
So
I
look forward to that answer, because that will come this next episode. Oh, also, I think we get a level up next episode.
I believe so too. I'm going to caveat this, not with the level up, but with what you're saying, in that if they do not go back for Treshy this episode, he will become an afterthought.
I can't argue with that. I think that's accurate.
Like this is like their last chance before he's like gone the way of the water Merid in this.
Yes. And arguably, it would almost be okay in the sense that he's served his purpose to get them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, but yes.
Because I'm still on the fence. I still think he's going to end up, like, my gut says that bringing Treshy to justice is an afterthought and not going to be pursued. Oh, we should have done this. Oh, well, we're doing this now. We're doing this now. Oh, we should have. Well, we're doing this now. Kind of.
Yeah, fair.
Yes. Thank you, Rose.
Yeah.
He's done.
But we will have to see about this Thursday, and we will talk about it with you guys next Tuesday. Take care of yourselves and each other, everybody. Bye, guys.